Hello, very good morning. Welcome to Breakfast with Dan Walker and Louise Minchin.
Headlines for you at 6 o'clock this morning. Good morning, it's Wednesday the 20th of May. Our top story, the World War II veteran Captain Tom Moore is to be knighted for his fundraising efforts for NHS charities after a special nomination from the Prime Minister.
You will remember, he walked 100 laps of his garden in time for his 100th birthday last month and in the process raised almost £40 million. Breakfast John Maguire has more.
What a lovely way to wake up this morning.
I think we've been calling him Sir Tom by mistake for a while.
Yes, I believe you're right. Captain Sir Tom. Officially, we can call him that. Oh, by the way, it's not Colonel, because Colonel is an honorary title, so it's Captain Sir Tom. Will join us later in the programme, just after 8 o'clock, and we'll also have some special messages of congratulations for him as well.
And if you'd like to send a video message to him as well, we will try and play some of those later too. The government is facing increasing pressure over its plans to reopen primary schools in England from next month, amid claims it isn't yet safe to do so.
Let's speak to our political correspondent. Thank you very much.
Almost a third of people who have died after testing positive for coronavirus in English hospitals had diabetes. This is according to new NHS England research. Diabetics
are to be offered more help from the NHS in England after clinicians found higher blood sugar levels and obesity increase the risk of dying from COVID-19. Our health correspondent Dominic Hughes has this report.
And most adults in England will automatically be considered organ donors from today unless they opt out.
The legislation, which is known as Max and Kira's Law, is in honour of Max Johnson, a 9-year-old boy who received a heart transplant from 9-year-old donor Kira Ball, who was killed in a crash back in 2017.
Roger Johnson explains how the decision to donate her organs was life-changing for his family. It is an amazing story in itself, and actually we'll be talking about the implications, what it means for all of us throughout the programme as well.
Elsewhere this morning, a couple in China have been reunited with their son, 32 years after he was abducted.
Oh, and you can see, he looks so like his dad as well, doesn't he? Absolutely.
Wow.
Amazing story. So it's 6:15. We'll have a look at today's paper.
Throughout the morning, and at 7:30 today we'll be joined by Robert Buckland, the Justice Secretary. He's going to be our government representative that we're speaking to this morning.
Are we going to look at the inside pages, do you know?
Yes, I've
okay.
a few there. I've got... This is, I'm just going to find his name, Stan Hardwick. Talking a lot about hobbies at the moment, people spending a bit more time in the garden. Well, Stan has got 500 mowers in his house. Have a look at... Well done, son.
There's been a bit of chat, hasn't there, about the effects of coronavirus actually on wildlife and actually the benefits about that. This is a piece from the Daily Mail. Morning in an empty car park near Cambridge, and a cuckoo calling at Austerley in West London. And yesterday, I love hearing woodpeckers, but I've never managed to see one. And for the first time, I saw this beautiful woodpecker yesterday, just a flash. But yeah, it was absolutely lovely. So things have changed a bit, haven't they?
We've got a nice big heron in the park down from us. It's always nice to spot the heron on a dog walk. What's your favourite sandwich? What's your top sandwich?
Just probably Marmite.
Just
simple Marmite sandwich or honey.
You are a woman of simple pleasures.
Yeah.
Well, this is there's an article in the Daily Express about a man called Max Halley who is he's got a restaurant and all they serve is sandwiches. So he's gone sort of through the top tips for sandwiches. The spaghetti bolognese mashup. How do you feel about a leftover spag bowl?
I feel really horrible.
Oh no,
about
I used to have a mate who would have anything in a sandwich.
Oh,
and
really?
So leftovers. How do you like this one? The bhaji smuggler. This is focaccia or ciabatta, any bread if you like, onion bhajis, lime pickles, blended if possible, full-fat yoghurt, pickled onions from a jar, spinach, parsley, mint,
why
coriander.
put it in a sandwich?
I've got one other one to talk to you about. He says, this is the success, right, of a perfect sandwich, he says, and he knows his sandwiches, hot, cold, sweet, sour, crunchy and soft. That's the secret to deliciousness. If you can get all 6 of those things into a sandwich, then you're on to a winner. So your Marmite sandwich doesn't
my Marmite's
really hit
all honey sandwiches and not together. Just on the National Trust thing as well, the National Trust has reopened some car parks, so if you're thinking of going, do check at countryside and coastal sites. But properties, though, are remaining closed at the moment, which is relevant for our next conversation as well. Have you, I expect you have been, wondering whether you are going to be able to go on your summer holiday this year? Some countries in Europe are beginning to ease their lockdown measures, and later today the Greek Prime Minister will set out plans for a return of tourism to the country.
It was one camping company said I think their campsite bookings had gone up 500% in the last week.
But no guarantee of what date you can start to go camping, apart from in your garden.
Yeah, if it's big enough, yeah.
You got one.
25 minutes past 6. Now, at the start of the year, more than 11 million hectares of bush, forest and parks across Australia were burned during devastating bushfires.
Hundreds of millions more dollars have now been pledged to help communities which are struggling to recover. Our Australia correspondent Shaima Khalil has been to a town in New South Wales which was badly affected. Now, anybody who's been outside yesterday would have seen it was lovely and warm, Carol, wasn't it? Morning.
Good morning. Was that?
I was out
I
on
love
the 20th
the
of
first
May.
deployment of Scorchio, Carol. Thank you.
Oh, pleasure.
Hello, very good morning to you. You're watching Breakfast with Dan and Louise.
It's just gone 6:30. It's Wednesday morning. The latest news, and talking about the hospitality industry today, because Sean is looking at sort of some new measures about what it will look like and how we'll be able to use restaurants and bars and pubs and hotels and tourist attractions in the future. Sean is out in the office somewhere. Lots to think about with that this morning. Now, 6:45, Captain Sir Tom Moore, that's what we're going to have to call him from now on. The night has been hailed as an extraordinary but unusual announcement as it comes ahead of the Queen's Birthday Honours List, which usually comes out first week of June, doesn't it?
Yep, his knighthood follows a special nomination from the Prime Minister. We're joined now by Queen's Honours and Awards ex. 1.5 million of the UK's most vulnerable people have been shielding since the start of the pandemic. This means they've been staying at home in self-isolation at all times and trying to avoid face-to-face contact with others.
Well, Breakfast Graham Satchell has been catching up with Holly, who is shielding in Scotland due to her severe asthma. She set up an online support group, which now has more than 1,000 members.
It's interesting how we're all trying to keep in touch with each other and change things a little bit.
Technology has been very essential, hasn't it, for the last few weeks?
Carol, look at this. There was glorious weather yesterday, and we can hope for more.
That's right, Lou. If you like it sunny and...
Now is to be knighted for his fundraising efforts for NHS charities after a special nomination from the Prime Minister.
You'll know, he walked 100 laps of his garden in time for his 100th birthday last month, and in the process he raised almost £40 million. Breakfast John Maguire has more.
It's just an incredible story.
What a story, which we've so enjoyed, haven't we?
Yeah.
Watching it all unfold. Breakfast John Maguire is at Captain Sir Tom's house this morning. The government is facing increasing pressure over its plans to reopen primary schools in England from next month, amid claims it isn't yet safe to do so. Our political correspondent...
Almost a third of people who have died after testing positive for coronavirus in English hospitals have diabetes. This is according to new NHS England research.
Diabetics are to be offered more help from the NHS in England after clinicians found higher blood sugar levels and obesity increase the risk of dying from COVID-19. Our health correspondent Dominic Hughes reports.
Well, we know that COVID-19 poses a greater risk to those with diabetes, and we're going to discuss that a little bit more now because we have a number of guests with us this morning who are going to be talking about this. We'll be hearing about that research from NHS England. A third of people who've died after testing positive for coronavirus in English hospitals had diabetes. We've just discussed that during the package. Let's speak now to Professor Jonathan Valabji and also Nick Cairns, who has type 1 obesity at NHS England and the lead author of the study as well. Good morning to both of you gentlemen. Thank you very much for being with us on BBC Breakfast this morning. Professor, let's come to you first of all because we've had lots of people get in contact with us this morning. We had a GP on about 6:30 and quite a few questions from those who have diabetes wanting to know exactly what they should be doing at the moment, and we're still waiting for real clarity on that issue. What can you tell them this morning?
Thank you.
Shall we tell you about the good news?
Oh, go on then.
18 minutes past 7. From humble ambitions to fundraise £1,000 for the NHS to receiving almost £40 million in donations, Captain Tom Moore's achievements are now being recognised with a knighthood.
The story has touched the hearts of the nation. We all know about it. But his family have supported him from the very start. His daughter, Hannah Ingram Moore, joined your dad a little bit later on. So thank you for your time and enjoying the sunshine this morning. Thank you.
It's always a sunny day when we're at your house.
Thank you.
Thank you for that too. Thank you all very much.
Yes, we do really well.
I love the fact that a family barbecue and a bit of a joke turned into £40 million on a story that's gone around
Incredible.
the world.
Important breaking news in the last few moments or so. Rolls-Royce have announced they're cutting 9,000 jobs worldwide. As Sean... Oh, we've seen that the weather is lovely out and about this morning. I don't know what's happened, Carol. You've got some fog, though. What's occurring?
That's right, Lou.
Well, thank you very much for the moment. Carol will be back in about half an hour's time on Breakfast.
Jerry, good morning. You are watching Breakfast with Dan and Louise.
Let's bring you up to date with some of the main stories today. Just gone 7:30. It's Wednesday morning. The government is facing increasing pressure over plans to reopen primary schools in England from next month. 11
councils which oversee education in England have now joined teaching unions to express opposition and concerns about safety. I'm going to talk about that in a moment. But first of all, we're joined now by...
To the man himself, Captain Sir Thomas More, as we now need to call him, just after 8 o'clock this morning. But right now, we're going to catch up with Sally. Sal, what have you got for us today?
Yeah, with Sally.
It's 7:45 this morning. If you just switched on your TV, we'll be speaking to Captain Sir Tom Moore just after 8 o'clock this morning. What's got a...
If you haven't realised, he has been knighted, or is going to be knighted, basically. Last night, 10:30, that great news.
We've spoken to his family already, but we're speaking to the man himself just after 8. And Sean is also with us this morning. Sean, good morning to you. Now, some news we're bringing you this morning about organ donation, because most adults in England will automatically be considered organ donors from today unless they opt out.
The legislation is known as Max and Kira's Law and is in honour of Max Johnson, a 9-year-old boy who received a heart transplant from 9-year-old donor Kira Ball, who was killed in a crash in 2017.
Roger Johnson now explains how the decision to donate her organs was life-changing for his family. What a wonderful and beautiful story that is. We're joined now by really interesting,
Just to let you know details as well, this new law applies to England only. Wales switched to an opt-out system back in 2015 and now has the highest consent rate of all the UK nations.
And Scotland is expected to follow suit next spring, but Northern Ireland Assembly decided not to make any changes when organ donation was discussed back in 2016. So that's the picture across the UK this morning.
We'll have the headlines in about 3 minutes or so.
Good morning, it's the 20th of May. Our top story for you this morning, the World War II veteran, Captain Tom Moore, you just saw a little slice of him there in his back garden, is to be knighted for his fundraising efforts for NHS charities. This is after a special nomination came from the Prime Minister.
He walked 100 laps of his garden in time for his 100th birthday last month and in the process raised almost £40 million. Breakfast John Maguire has more. We'll be speaking to the man himself really shortly here at Breakfast. Excuse me, you're going to have to carry on.
Oh, you're all right.
It's my breakfast, not anything else.
OK, in the last half hour, the Justice Secretary has told this programme he doesn't know if all primary schools in England will reopen to more pupils next month. Those comments come as the government faces increasing pressure from teaching unions and councils over safety. Let's get some... So those are some of the main stories around on this Wednesday morning. I'm going to ask you to cast your mind back now, all the way to Good Friday, which seems like a long time ago. But that was when we first spoke to Captain Tom Moore, as he was then, on BBC Breakfast. His plan then was to try and raise £1,000 for the NHS. It was a plan that started at a family barbecue by walking 100 laps of his garden before he turned 100.
His ambition touched millions. His story was broadcast in homes around the world and Tom raised a staggering £32 million with an extra £6 million donated through gift aid. It's
crazy amounts of money, isn't it? And now his achievements are being recognised with an incredible honour, a knighthood. The news came through at 10:30 last night. We've already spoken to some members of his family. Let's speak.
If you would, what would be his favourite tipple to celebrate? Is it a cup of tea or what is it?
You might find that everybody...
I expect they're on their way to you.
Yes, one final one. I just wondered, Hannah, whether your dad's going to celebrate with a walk today or is he having the day off this morning away with you?
Thank you so much. That's lovely, isn't it? So, the weather's glorious there, Carol. What about for the rest of us? Morning.
Morning, Carol.
Good morning.
You've gone right out there, haven't you?
As many European countries begin to ease their lockdown measures, many of us are wondering if holidays, we might not need them abroad right now, might be able to resume this summer.
Later today, the Greek Prime Minister will set out his plans for a return to tourism in that country. So could visitors expect to be returning to Greece at some stage? Elena...
Joining us. So we are seeing sort of parts of Europe begin to open up. But presumably, people can't, what are you saying to people about booking holidays right now? It's not certain that they can go, is it?
OK, yeah, they're still having
A pleasure, yeah. 1.5 million of the UK's most vulnerable people have been shielding since the start of the pandemic. This means they've been staying at home in self-isolation at all times and trying to avoid face-to-face contact with anybody else.
A Breakfast Graham's Satchel has been catching up with Holly, who's shielding in Scotland due to her severe asthma. She set up an online support group which now has more than 1,000 members. Shows you it's good to chat, try and keep in touch. Joining us now is former English with Parkinson's disease. He's having to shield. So what does that kind of mean in practical terms? After a 10-year absence, millions of us tuned in to watch the Gavin and Stacey Christmas special, which included some tidy comedy moments from our next guest, Alison Steadman, who plays Gavin's doting mum, Pam.
Well, tomorrow night, Alison is hosting a special Gavin and Stacey themed internet quiz, talking to Mike about charity. This is to raise money for charity as well. We'll speak to her in a moment, but first, we couldn't do it without a few highlights, could we? The magic of Pam.
Alison joins us now. Oh, it's lovely to join in. So you're going to be in charge, are you?
Yeah, I'll be.
Alison, thank you very much indeed. Enjoy the quiz. I hope it goes well. I'm sure it will. Thank you so much. Good to speak.
Thank you, Alison.
Take care.
As we've been hearing this morning, the achievements of Captain Sir Tom Moore are being recognised with an incredible honour and knighthood.
So Tom's aspiration was to raise £1,000 for NHS charities by walking 100 laps of his garden before his 100th birthday. His ambition touched millions. His story was broadcast in homes around the world.
He said he's having a Joan Collins to celebrate. Gin, lemon juice, sugar syrup and carbonated water. Enjoy. We'll finish the programme with a special congratulations from everybody at BBC Breakfast. See you tomorrow.